Tom Vasel here, and welcome to another board game breakfast! Yay! All right, a couple things. First of all, don't forget Dice Tower Con. Sign up for coming to the best con on earth. It's at dicetowercon.com. And exciting news, we're running a contest. So right now, Extraordinary Adventures Pirates is on Kickstarter. We did a live playthrough through last Tuesday. They're having a contest right now. And to enter this contest, all you need to do is email us at contest@dicetower.com. And in the subject line, put the word pirate. Right? All you gotta do is put the word pirate. And then in the subject of your email, you need two things. One, let us know your address and phone number so that we can send you your prizes if you win them. And secondly, tell us who won the live playthrough that we did. All you gotta do is tell us who won of the 4 people playing. All right, so that's how you enter. What can you win? There's 3 prizes. These will be chosen randomly from all those who entered. 3rd place gets a copy of Extraordinary Adventures Pirates when it's published. 2nd place gets the top tier Kickstarter pledge, which comes with the playmat and all sorts of cool goodies. All the extra Kickstarter stuff. And 1st place also gets that top tier Kickstarter pledge and $500. By the way, if you're watching this and you're a member of the Vasel family, you're not allowed to participate. Sorry. But anywho, that's the contest that's going on. So all you gotta do is email us at contest@dicetower.com, put pirates in the header, in the description, put your name, your address and phone number, and your who won the live playthrough of this game. All right, well, that's an exciting way to start out. This contest will run for the next 2 weeks. We'll be announcing the winners around that time. Until then, though, let's start the show off, and let's start with the news. For sure, the biggest news on the internet right now is all over Kickstarter. Kickstarter is just exploding with projects, and that is for sure. But there is some regular news. First of all, if you haven't heard by now, at Essenspiel, there was a lot of robberies. At least 5, probably more publishers were robbed. I know Artipia Games was robbed, Japanime Games, Hub Games. There's several publishers were robbed. Artipia is actually running a Kickstarter to help recoup some of their money from this and make some cards and raising awareness of the situation. Basically, trained thieves were coming up. One is distracting. One would come in and they would distract someone. Another person would come in and just take a game and start walking away with it. They would stop it. That person's like, oh, sorry. And meanwhile, a third person would come in and steal the cash box when no one was looking. It's very unfortunate. We'll see what happens in regards to this. There's been a lot of complaints and things about it, obviously. Hopefully, this will become less of a problem in the future. Strawberry Studios announced a new game, Little Monster That Came to Dinner. And if you look at this picture, that looks cute. Strawberry Studios games are very little and fun. Although that certainly looks a lot like Stitch, I think. Anyway, all right. YouPlayIt.it is remaking Cleopatra and the Society of Architects. This is fantastic. Cleopatra and the Society of Architects is a game from Days of Wonder. When I first heard about this, though, I said, I don't know. How are they going to duplicate the Days of Wonder, production? However, they came up to me at Essen and they showed me some of the pictures of what the game's going to look like, and it looks really good. So I'm really excited about that. Yellow announced a whole slew of announcements. One that really caught my eye was the expansion for Bunny Kingdom called Cloud Kingdom. This is going to add a 5th player, whatever, and a board with more stuff on it. So I'm excited to see all that. Well, that's the regular news. Now let's go to where the juicy stuff is, Kickstarter.
Hello fellow gamers, I'm back with some awesome new Kickstarters for you this week. However, I wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to be at BGG Con. So, if you happen to see me there, I'm totally down with giving out crisp high fives. If you don't like crisp high fives, I also do really awkward handshakes. That's all I got though, okay? So, other than that, let's get started for the week. Featured this week, we have City of the Big Shoulders. This is by Parallel Games, and it's an 18xx game for 2 to 4 investors looking to rebuild Chicago after the Great Fire in 1871. By purchasing and selling stocks from historically accurate and prominent Chicago companies in that era. Then players will have the chance to construct buildings that also act as action spaces during the game, creating this bountiful yet unique economy every gameplay. Players will also be able to hire workers and acquire assets for their company, selling off crafted goods, and most importantly, collecting their earnings for about 2.5 hours. This super heavy economics game will cost you $79, but that's not the only economics game on the market this week. We also have Pipeline by Capstone Games. This is for 2 to 4 entrepreneurs looking to capitalize on the oil industry by building an economic engine using worker placement to purchase crude oil. Then players can buy and strategically assemble pipeline tiles to refine their liquid gold. And of course, like any serious oil tycoon, you'll get to sell off your refined oil and fulfill contracts for about 120 minutes. The theme of this game has raised a few eyebrows, but for $49, this seems like an interesting heavy economics game. You can also try it before you buy it on Tabletop Simulator. Now, speaking of the refinement of dead dinosaur carcasses, our next game features those lovable murderous scamps in Dino World by Alley Cat Games. This roll and write game is for 1 to 150 park owners looking to challenge themselves in a spatial positioning puzzle, as you roll dice to create dinosaur enclosures with generators and walkways in your very own dinosaur park. You can play in light mode, populating your park with enclosures for herbivores and carnivores, or you can play in danger mode, pushing your luck as you balance security with the threat of your dinosaurs escaping. In this 40 to 70 minute game that allows you to play with dinosaurs for only $28 instead of the cost of genetically engineering them yourself. Next up is a game title we can all certainly relate to, which is Awkward Guess by Megacorp and Games. This crime scene is for 2 to 8 detectives looking to trade clues to whodunit, why, and how, all in the Walton Mansion. Players start by assembling a clue deck, which is using the brilliant deck system that offers up to 3,600 different solutions, ensuring that your clue cards and continued murder investigations in this same exact house never get stale, but definitely leads me to believe that this house could quite possibly be haunted. Now, this murder mystery takes about 45 to 70 minutes to play, and also has a really cool app feature that keeps the solution hidden just in case somebody guesses incorrectly. So at $32, this game is certainly a steal. Now on to our expansions and reprints for the week. These are going to go pretty quickly, but first up we have Sword and Sorcery. This is a prequel to The Immortal Souls, but it also is a new core set that adds expanded narratives, bigger adventures, and more monsters to fight. So if you're interested in that, please check it out. Next up, we have Claustrophobia 1643, which this is an entire revamp of the game with new art, new boards, and miniatures. This game was made 9 years ago, so this is going to be a huge update for this one. And last, but certainly not least, is the Artipia Games promo pack. Now, for those of you who might not know, several game companies were robbed during Essenspiel, and Artipia has put together a promo pack to try and make up some of that money that they lost. At the very least, you should go and check out the page, as they have links to other companies that got robbed, and details on how you guys can help out if you're interested. Thanks so much for joining me this week, guys. So if you are interested in hearing anything else about these Kickstarters, make sure to join me Fridays at 1 p.m. Central Time on my channel, gloryhound.com, that's gloryhound with 2 Ds, as me and 2 other people talk about these Kickstarters and if we would or would not back them and why, because we've been backing Kickstarters for a while now. So if you guys are interested in that, check it out. And other than that, I will see you guys all next week.
You know, sometimes wargamers don't want to play a war game. They don't want to set up a big game, you know. So what do wargamers do when they don't want to play a war game? They play a zombie war game. I don't know why wargamers like zombies. Zombie War, a game by Greg Porter for 2 to 4 players. Published by Tiny Battle Publishing. So in this game, basically you're trying to stop the zombies from infecting the world. You're trying as a government, as the military, or as a corporation, isolationists or terrorists. These are the roles you play. And another role that you play as the zombies, infecting the world. Now each faction that you play has its own victory conditions to score points, or by controlling secret objectives that you choose at the beginning of the game. Now you're probably saying, damn, Dan, there's a million games like this. What makes this one any different than any other zombie game? Well, let's say you choose the zombie faction and you infect the world and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna win this game. But the next turn, you gotta switch factions with the other players. So now you're the government and you're trying to save the world from zombies. A world in which you infected. So your job in Zombie War is to take rotating roles as one or more of these factions striving to further their group's goals for points and manipulating the goals crisis to achieve one or both of your secret victory conditions. I read that straight from the rulebook. Reminds me a little bit of Pandemic, but here you can actually kill the zombies and use nukes. Zombie War, designed by Greg Porter, published by Tiny Battle Publishing. This game takes about 1 hour to 90 minutes to play. Thank you for watching. If you want to know more about wargame news, please check out my channel, No Enemies Here. Thank you very much.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. A brand new app has hit the app stores for the AEG game Cat Lady. Let's take a look at this cute kitty cornucopia. Cat Lady is a lane drafting game designed by Josh Wood. Each player works to gather kitty cards and the right food to feed them. You get these cards by taking the 3 in a single row or column, and whatever lane you take will be blocked for the next player. You'll also be collecting toys and catnip and even kitty costumes for some extra set collection. 3 random stray cats are available each game to adopt once you have a couple of the lost cat posters, and each of those kitties have special scoring conditions that you can add to your game. If a lane you need is blocked and you previously got a spray bottle card, well, you can use that to spray the blocker away. The game is simple and quick and full of kitty charm. Cat Lady is almost perfectly suited for app play. You can complete a full game in under 3 minutes once you know what to look for on the cards. The interface is very easy and intuitive to use, and I like how simple it is to check on your inventory or what your opponents have. If you've never played Cat Lady, there's an interactive tutorial that will easily teach you the game and interface. There's no online play, but pass and play works quite well. And there is a challenge mode, but I'm really disappointed that it requires Facebook to access. There are 3 difficulties of AI that you can play against, and it's interesting that there's an adorable variety of names and backstories for the AIs, but you can't change the human players' names. But filling up the charm bucket a little bit more, the achievements that you earn when you play fill up little objects in a room setting, which is a thematic and adorable detail. Available for iOS and Android, and it's brand new, I suspect that there's a chance that Cat Lady the app could be updated with minor tweaks that will smooth out any nitpicks that I may have in the future. That said, playing Cat Lady right now, it's a very smooth experience, and for the price and polish, it's a solid value. The game is light and breezy, the ambient animations are perfect, and it's just one of the cutest, quickest mobile game experiences around. Give it a try.
Hey there everyone, it's Jen, the board game librarian, flipping some pages and pushing some cubes. I have a super special segment this week. Last weekend was Extra Life, a 24-hour event, and Tracy DeGrazia here bid on a spot to showcase not only Extra Life, but her favorite board game and book. So I'm going to throw it all over to you, Tracy.
Hi, so I'm Tracy DeGrazia. I'm the vice president of the Extra Life Hartford Guild, and what Extra Life is, if you guys don't know, is a charity that benefits your local Children's Miracle Network hospital, and for me that's Connecticut Children's Medical Center in Hartford, Connecticut. And what we do is you do a year-long fundraising campaign, and then the culmination of that fundraising campaign is you do one 24-hour gaming marathon. So this year we just did it last weekend, and I played lots of games. I don't remember much because I was very tired the entire time, but we raised,
You're such a champ.
we raised almost $6,000 for Connecticut Children's Medical Center, and I personally raised around $1,000 myself.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
So,
and it was my husband Matt and I came for part of the day, and it was a packed event. I think a lot of people I had never seen here before too, so it really brought the gaming community together.
Absolutely.
for this, and it's such a worthy cause.
Yeah. So this was my 4th year doing the event at the Portal, and my 4th year doing Extra Life, and every year it just gets more and more fun.
Yeah,
so.
and bigger and bigger too, which
Absolutely.
I think is amazing.
Yeah.
So why did you pick Harry Potter?
I mean, who doesn't love Harry Potter? I mean, I don't think anyone from our age range, I don't think I've ever met somebody who hasn't read the books. And I think they did a pretty good job turning the book into a board game, and which doesn't always happen, and I think they really did a good job with the Harry Potter game. It's a little difficult to win at higher levels, and the expansion makes it even more difficult. But, I mean, I don't want to play an easy game. I like to be challenged, and the board game challenges me. And deck building is my favorite kind of game anyways, so this was a no-brainer for me to play the Harry Potter games.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, talking
Absolutely.
about Extra Life, Harry Potter. That's all this week. I'll see you next week. Happy breakfast.
Hello, my name's Annette, and you may know me as Netters Plays. And today on Applied Mechanics, I'm going to go over the game of Carpe Diem. So this is a tile laying game, and it's unlike any other tile laying game because it also incorporates a rondelle. So let me show you a little bit about that and why I really like this game. In Carpe Diem, players will be able to select tiles from this rondelle and place them in their general district or player board area, and that will give them special resources or coins in order to achieve different types of achievements that are set for the game. Before players take a tile, they need to move. They can move using these guidelines from where they're located in order to obtain one of the tiles in that space. When a player places their tile, at first it has to go wherever the shovel is located on their board. Any other tiles that they want to add needs to be adjacent to the tiles that are already placed. In this case, they can finish this field, and whenever they do so, they'll also gain some resources, depending on what type of building it is. The game is not simply where you're placing tiles and getting resources. You'll also gain bonuses if you complete different types of buildings that are along the borders of these player boards, which is all randomized in the beginning of the game. Once the rondelle is empty of tiles that you've placed throughout that phase, then you'll be able to score different points. This is going to guide players on what they should collect and what they will score throughout the whole game. So in a game like this, you have these different tiles that you're building, you're collecting these resources, but you need some sort of guidance. And that's what I really like about this game. Because of these achievement cards, along with the border around the player's board, it kind of guides you on what you should be building and what you should be collecting in order to score points. There's many different routes, but there's always these prime strategies that players should follow. And that's what I really enjoy about Carpe Diem. Well, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
So what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, this week we're going to be putting out our 12 Games of Christmas series. This is a series of videos where we recommend some games. You say, wait a minute, Christmas is not here yet. Well, we know, but you should be shopping for Christmas now, not later. So we just put these out for the shopping season just to give you some gift guides, our opinion, of course, of different categories: strategy, advanced strategy, family, party, things like that. So those will be posted this week. Also, a lot of different reviews. Exo Brainer, Hacker, Fortune, Walls of York. Definitely check that review out when that one goes up. Architectura, Gingerbread House, another one I liked a lot, and Catch the Moon. Also, we're continuing on with our top 100 games of all time. That comes out every Thursday. Live Q&A from me today, so check that out. Look back on Wednesday. And we'll see what else comes out this week. We're excited. The week is continuing on. And if there's live stuff, you can always check it out at dicetowerlive.com. Not to mention a podcast. Eric and I are publishing a podcast tomorrow where we talk about our top 10 team games. Team versus team. There's not as many as you think, but we pick our favorites. And, of course, you can find out all the other podcasts on the Dice Tower Network at dicetowernetwork.com.
Hi, Mike Delisio from Solomode Games. Let's talk organization. I've mentioned a time or two that I am not the most organized person in the world. That really can be said for every aspect of my life, and my board gaming hobby is no exception to that. I really don't feel like I've got a great sense of good ways to organize games. Recently I was talking to Matthew Jude on a episode of Sporadically Bored with Mike and Dan, a new podcast I do, and I was mentioning how I don't really feel good about the way I organize games, and he was saying that when he actually was visiting my place during last Gen Con, he saw all my games on the shelves, kind of haphazardly put, you can kind of see them behind me here, and how he wanted to just kind of go through and reorganize everything, and that made me think that would be fantastic. I would love that, but be that as it may, I just don't feel confident about it. Now, with the actual components of the games, I do baggies, so many baggies everywhere, and I do Hugo's amazing tape, which this stuff is amazing, by the way. If you can get a hold of it, it's fantastic for cards. And I'll do rubber bands and things like that. So the organization of the components I'm okay with, I think, but it's the actual placing of the games on my shelves that I feel somewhat inadequate on. I mean, do you do them vertically? Do you do them horizontally? I don't really put them together even by box size or publisher or genre even to a huge extent. I mean, here and there, and sometimes I'll group designers' games together, but I don't feel like I've got a really good overall plan for the organization of my games, and I didn't know if I was an outlier or if I'm more in the norm. So if you can let me know what your thoughts are on this. Do you organize your games carefully? Do you have a very regimented system for how your games go up on the shelf, or do you just kind of place them where they fit? If you can let me know your thoughts, I'd be very interested to hear it. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.
It's interesting when we play games, how many movie references come up, why don't you put her in charge, or, all kinds of Aliens quotes and Terminator quotes and things. When a movie comes out, there's something you remember. I'll be back from Terminator. You remember, different scenes from movies and music from movies, but there's these things, we talk about them and that character, and games don't seem to be as memorable that way. Part of it's, theme. It's not like, oh yeah, there's this. Now, there are some things that have transcended gaming to become outside. Meeples, for example. The meeple, which is used in the name of almost every other podcast that's out there right now. A meeple has transcended that. Maybe the robber in Catan, or the provost in Kalis, although Kalis is not nearly as popular these days. It doesn't seem like a game has any specific thing in it that you might remember. Oh, that character. Oh, yeah. When we talked about this in the Dice Tower podcast, or Jeff did, maybe inside a world, sometimes it's a little bit like in Arkham Horror, Jenny Barnes. I know who Jenny Barnes is. Like, oh, yeah, that's Jenny Barnes. She's cool. Or Cthulhu himself, although Cthulhu is a character that existed outside board gaming. But things in board gaming that transcend the hobby and they become things we talk about, they're not there. The closest I can think of is the guy from Mr. Monopoly. His character, you see him around and people know the Monopoly pieces. Monopoly's been around for coming on 100 years at this point, which is, so that's part of people's, thought patterns. And maybe other games from that Life and Sorry, the Spinner from Life, or the Cars from Life, those kind of things exist in people's consciousness. But in our games, in the hobby game market, there's not a lot of pieces, components, themes, characters that kind of come out of the game and are larger than life, and things, everyone knows who Super Mario is. Everyone knows who Sonic the Hedgehog is. Everyone knows, different people know Kirby and these different characters, but we don't necessarily know a lot of the characters from games. That's because game universes aren't strong enough usually to transcend to multiples. Some companies make these, like I mentioned, Fantasy Flight as their Arkham Horror universe, and they have their Terranoth universe, although I couldn't tell you one character from Terranoth, and they have the different universes, but most of the time I don't know who these people are. I don't know the characters. I don't know enough about them. If I grab a random game off my shelf, Seven Wonders, there's nothing about this game. There's no characters. There's nothing. There might be a few cards. And Magic the Gathering has the the Black Lotus card, and people know what that card is. That card kind of comes out from Magic. Even if you don't know Magic very well at all, you might know that card exists. So I'm curious, right? I like to make a list of these things. Let me know in the comments, like, what are things that kind of stand out that even if you might not know a game, you know about it. The Robber and Catan, the Black Lotus in Magic the Gathering, the Meeples from Carcassonne. What are things that when you think about them, you're like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about that game, but I know that's in that game. Or it comes up in other conversations or something. I just don't think there's a lot of that, actually. But I like to see what people think are the ideas for that. So post those in the comments. Anyway, that's what I was thinking about today. Yay, Mr. Monopoly, right? Kind of? I don't know.
Hey everyone, Gamer Joe here. If you like trick-taking games and you have a game night where, let's say, one other person shows up, then you should let Jennifer Meyer take you to the fantasy world that she created in The Fox and the Forest by Foxtrot Games and Renegade Game Studio. The Fox and the Forest is a two-player trick-taking game, and aside from normal cards and suited cards that are normally used to win tricks, characters such as the Fox and the Witch have special abilities that, let's say, let you change the trump suit and even lead after you lose a trick and much more. Jennifer's artwork for the special characters is stunning. Kind of wish I had a print of all of them combined so I could display it in my apartment somewhere. Her artwork can be seen in magazines, children's books, and comic books. And this is her second game project, and she's also done collaborative projects in the past. You guys can see some of her great artwork on her website. It's www.jennifer-meyer.com, where she provides links to her magazine, cover, and book art. She also provides links to her Instagram, Pinterest, and Tumblr pages, and I highly recommend checking out all those resources for some amazing artwork. Her Pinterest stands out because it shows off some of her inspiration as well as gives us a peek into her personal life. And her Instagram shows off everything from finished work to sketches, so you can see her pieces from start to finish. So I wanted to get a small game that I could throw in my bag and play almost anywhere, and this game fits that role perfectly. One of the first things I look for in a game, of course, is the art, and this game was a no-brainer. Question for you guys. What game have you gone to a friendly local game store or seen online and the artwork drew you in and you purchased it without knowing anything about the game? Or you did do a little bit of research but knew you had to have it anyway because the artwork was so fantastic? Leave it in the comments below. I might even feature it in the future, who knows? Well, that's it for today, guys. Remember to check me out on all the various social media, and until next time, enjoy your breakfast.
Hello guys, it's Cardboard Rhino and welcome to one more Rhino Says Yes. Today I have a really sweet card game to show you about emotions and about building an identity. It's Cerebria the card game. Cerebria the card game is a turn-based and fast-paced card game taking place inside your own mind. The cards show different emotions, either belonging to bliss, like euphoria, sociability, and confidence, or to gloom, like disgust, doubt, and selfishness. Each player is building a mindset consisting of 4 emotions, and the outside world is represented by the impulse, a dynamically changing pool of available emotion cards. Players in their turn can perform 2 of the available actions, which are getting an emotion from the impulse and playing an emotion from their hand, activating its fragments. The goal of the game is to collect enough fragments to fully develop your identity, either creating a blissful identity of at least 12 bliss fragments, or a gloomy identity of 12 gloom fragments, or a balanced identity of at least 7 and 7. The fragments are scored during the revelations, which are triggered when one of the impulse stacks is emptied. In your turn, you can also use the emotion abilities of the cards in your mindset that allow you to mostly interfere with the mindsets of others by spending a fragment from the card to activate it. There's also a vibe in each card which allows you to create sets in your mindset to get extra bonus fragments during the revelations. You can also cancel an opponent's effect of an emotion ability by discarding a card from your hand of a matching vibe. Cerebria the card game takes place in the same world as the board game, Cerebria the Inside World, but they're very different games. What I can say for both though is that the production quality is awesome and there's gorgeous art and illustrations. The card game is a fast-paced battle where you need to balance the trade-off between holding onto your fragments and using them to activate the abilities of the emotions. I think it's a beautifully and cleverly simulated system about how your emotions interact with the outside impulses and build your identity, and it's also a very unique theme. So Rhino says yes to Cerebria the card game. You should definitely give it a try.
Two brothers set loose in a thrift store. This is Thrift Store Throwbacks.
What do you want, man?
I want to know just why you were playing the ukulele on a horse in Nashville, Tennessee, after Labor Day.
It was New Year's. What, is that a crime now?
Yeah, it's a crime.
Was that a misdemeanor?
Yeah, that is a misdemeanor. You know what's a felony? Trying to pass a beaver off as a cat for the point of sale in the state of Oklahoma. Yeah. You want to do that business? You take it up to Kansas where they live lawlessly.
Man, this isn't my fault, man. The DA's got it out for me.
Yeah, you better believe he's got it out for anyone that wears mismatched socks on the third Sunday of any March. Tell me this. Are you wearing clean tighty-whities?
I mean, yeah.
Well, that's against the law here. I'm tired of all your lies.
Put it down. Gosh,
Let me leave the light.
put it down. Jeez.
It's illegal to use magic to get out of handcuffs in the state of Illinois.
Alright, so this is Real Dumb Laws. It's a really dumb game. It's a trivia game that you're trying to guess the real dumb laws. So all of the questions are multiple choice. And if it's your turn, say you're blue, you're going to get a question and you're going to have 4 options. So like in Yamhill, Oregon, it is illegal to do what? Eat black-eyed peas, own a pet ostrich, predict the future, or wear leopard print. And if you get it right, you get to move up 1 space. If you get it wrong, the other teams will have a chance to try to chime in, but if they get it wrong, they will go back a space. If they get it right, they move forward, and that's literally the whole game.
So that was Real Dumb Laws.
This game is terrible. It's
Terrible.
just a trivia game about dumb laws. Dumb laws are some of my favorite things.
I agree.
And this game doesn't even deliver on the coolest dumb laws that are out there. In the comments below, if you know of any great dumb laws, put
Yes.
them up in there.
Please
Because
put
I
them in
wanna
the
be
comments.
entertained. This game didn't quite deliver.
No, it did not.
You know what is going to deliver?
What?
On Thursday night, we're playing Welcome To with all of you.
Indeed. On Thursday night on Twitch, we're going to play a game of Welcome To with the chat. We're trying to get as big a game as humanly possible. We want thousands of people there.
Yeah.
Or, however many we can get. So, if you have Twitch and stuff like that, you want to play Welcome To, especially the new Kickstarter out, please come over to our Twitch channel and play with us on Thursday night at 6 p.m.
It's going to be super fun, and you can print out a thing and play right from home all at the same time with us. It's
Yes.
super great. Please be there for that. And until next time, we'll see you in that live stream on Thursday at 6 o'clock West Coast time. Be there. Welcome to a good time on Thursday.
Howdy folks, welcome to By the Numbers. My name is Hunter Thomason from the Family Showdown. Each episode of By the Numbers, we look at a board game numeric related topic. This week's topic, what is the perfect size gaming group? By gaming group, I don't mean a big meetup, because everyone knows the right size for a meetup is 73. I'm talking about if you're going to sit down to play a single game with a group of people, what is the best number of people to have? So I traveled over to the Board Game Geek and looked at the top 500 games of all time and looked at a couple of stats. I looked at what player counts can and can't play each of those games and what player counts do those games play best at. Let's take a look at the handy dandy chart and we see that the vast majority of those games play 2, 3, and 4 players with 2 players edging out the win in that group. So then I looked at what player counts each of those games play best at. Some have more than one best. And we see that 4 players destroys the competition in that category with 237, almost half the games playing best 4 players, with 2 players and 3 players falling behind. So it really boils down to 2 player counts, 2 player and 4 player. 4 player if you want to play the most games the best. And 2 player if you want to play as many games as possible. So how do you decide 2 player or 4 player?
So couldn't the 4-player group break into 2-player groups and play the 2-player games?
Okay, everybody, so I'm here today with Glenn Drover, who has designed more than a few board games, actually.
Couple few.
You keep track of how many?
I think I'm closing in on 20.
What's the first game you've ever designed?
That was the Age of Imperialism.
All right, so War, Age of Imperialism. Now, Glenn almost started a whole genre. It was like the a response to the Game Master style games, right? You made these big games full of plastic miniatures. This was Eagle Games. It was during the early 2000s, I believe.
It was. 2001 was the first
what
year.
inspired you to start doing that?
Exactly that, the Game Master series. So it was one of my favorites as a kid. Grew up with it, and I was just wondering how come they went away and no one was doing them anymore. And I thought, well, gosh, I'll bring them back, and with hopefully new ideas and new designs. No one had ever done a colonial type thing, and that seemed perfect for gaming. It was expansionist, it was economic, it was military, and I was I'm kind of a war gamer, so that was perfect for me. I was really into it, and then wanted to do historical games. So right after that, we did a Civil War game and a Napoleonic game.
That's true, right? Yeah. There was a lot of war games in a row.
Right.
And then you made a hard turn and made a game that's still widely talked about today, and that's Age of Empires, or now Empire's Age of Discovery.
Right.
So what made that change?
I learned about good game design. Those early games
He said that, not me.
Weren't very good.
I like some of them.
I was still living in the 80s, and that was what I knew, and I just hadn't really appreciated the sea change in game design that had happened in Eurogame, mechanics. And then as I was exposed to that more and more, it started influencing my thinking, and I realized that doing things in a slightly abstracted way with less luck and more a tighter, more streamlined game design was just better. It was a better game experience. It was a better way to deliver the narrative.
Well, now, when you made this game, it was a worker placement game. Before that was really a huge genre. There were very few of them.
I think there was one.
Well, I know Martin Wallace had made Way Out West, and maybe there was, Kalis was existing.
Kalis was the one that existed. And it was weird because I had read an article about this type of a mechanic, but had never played a game with that mechanic, and I started designing Age of Discovery. And the idea was the influences were old computer games, like Sid Meier's Colonization, and there was an SSG game. I can't remember what it was called, but it was about that. And I loved those mechanics and the themes. And so I developed this worker placement thing kind of in tandem with Kalis. I hadn't played it. I just kind of heard about this kind of a thing, so it influenced me, but I had never played a worker placement game before I designed that. So it was not it wasn't the first, but it was in that first wave of them.
Were you surprised at then the reaction to that as opposed to the other games? The other games, there was a small group, but then suddenly now a lot of people are playing this game.
Yeah, I was really pleased with the feedback. People seemed to like the game a lot and the design. Railroad Tycoon came before it and got some good reviews.
That's true. That was built on Martin Wallace's Age of Steam.
Right. Actually, I approached Martin and said, hey, Age of Steam seems wildly popular, and I was going to have the Railroad Tycoon license. And I thought, well, let's use that kind of mechanic or that kind of design, but make it more approachable, because I hadn't even played Steam at that point, but I had heard a lot about it being a very clever game, great mechanics, but very unapproachable, that it was a very steep learning curve.
Sure.
So it's like, let's make it more approachable and use the same kind of an idea, and it worked really well. It was a really the right idea.
Well, then you disappeared for a few years and went off into video games.
Yeah, well, some would say I reappeared because my original career was video games. I had joined the video game industry in 1989 and worked at Microprose with Sid Meier, Bruce Shelley, but on the business side. I was in sales. And that was my entire career until I started Eagle Games. So really, Eagle was really a departure from my career because I wanted to be creative for a while. I was very frustrated in doing a sales job, which is lucrative but not very rewarding. It's not very fulfilling with regard to being creative. It's just really, rinse, repeat kind of, daily grind of a job. So I love the video game industry, but I was looking for something where I could actually design, because I love games. I mean, I've always been a gamer since I was a kid, like a lot of us, and I wanted a chance to design for a while.
So then you went back and were working with computer games again.
I did. I joined PopCap, and we, I handled North American retail sales, and we launched great games like Bejeweled and Plants vs. Zombies.
Never heard of any of them.
Yeah, right. And it was a pleasure. And then EA ended up buying the company, and so I was redundant because they obviously had salespeople. And I was like, all right, what am I going to do next? And I took a little break, and a few friends in the board gaming industry came to me and said, hey, would you like to design a game with us? And I was taking kind of a sabbatical, and I thought, well, gosh, yeah, I'd love to do that as a lark, and started working on a few different games, and those ended up being some of the games that we're publishing now.
So where did the idea for Forbidden Games come from then?
It was really kind of a vehicle for us to publish these games that had been created, and we'd been working on them for a couple of years and didn't have a home. We had pitched them to a few publishers, but really didn't get any traction because there's, every publisher now has more games than they can publish, right? So
whoa, that's what I've heard.
Right? And so very different from, 10, 15, 20 years ago where, a game designer who was respected could probably find a home for their games. So we decided, my partner Jason Kapalka and I, he was one of the founders at PopCap, and so he and I were working on a dungeon crawl social drinking game together, and we're like, okay, well, when we finish this thing, we're going to need to publish it. And I'm like, well, I have these other games. Why don't we start a company and we'll publish this whole product line?
Well, you've seen some of these games. Last week, I just reviewed Raccoon Tycoon, which I really like a lot. And we got this new game that's on Kickstarter right now, this Extraordinary Adventures Pirates. This is the second pirate game I've heard you working with over the years. What made you want to do a pirate game, other than the obvious coolness of pirates?
I think my co-designer, Don Beyer, who also worked on Bootleggers years ago, which was a game I really loved and Eagle published, he was one of those guys that came to me and said, hey, let's design a game together. And we had designed the game. Originally, the theme was going to be 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Around the World in 80 Days. And it was a 3-part board with different stories. Author
Jules Verne.
Jules Verne, thank you. Brain failure.
One of the greatest authors ever.
Yes, so Jules Verne themed boards. It was 3 separate boards that were basically modular. And that was the original design, but coming back from Gen Con a little more than a year ago, when we were just starting the company, it occurred to me that might be a little too gamery, niche, esoteric for a broad appeal product line, which is what we're trying to get to with these games. We want games that appeal to gamers, but really they're games that they can play with their non-gamer friends, and easy entry, but games with some depth. Anyway, I thought the theming was a little bit too niche, and so on the drive home from Gen Con, I started brainstorming about what other themes are, broad appeal, are popular, and could really spark the imaginations of people who aren't necessarily already into these kinds of games. And Pirates was one of the things I thought of, and it really worked well with the mechanics of the game. As you saw when we play tested it, a week or so ago, it really feels appropriate as you're sailing through the Caribbean.
It's kind of like a 3-way race mixed with
plundering
and trying to outdo the other person, then a little bit of deck building.
Right. So it was a natural fit, and we didn't have to change the mechanics almost at all. Just a few of the nuances, and obviously the theming of the decks and that kind of thing. But so that was it. It was really meant to be something that captures the popular imagination on a broad level. The old pirate movies, obviously Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a theme that I think, like westerns, and
well, it also has some fantastic artwork.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the artist is super talented. His name is Mark Page, and he actually works at Disney. He's an Imagineer, so he works at Disney during the day, and he works on our stuff on the train on the way home at night. And he's been working on the art. There's almost 100 pieces of original art in this game, and he has been working on it for almost a year. So, just really has that Disney look and feel, which is something we were after. We really wanted, again, for the approachability and the appeal to non-core gamers, to mom shoppers. If you're finding this game in a mass merchant on the shelf, we wanted it to be something that mom would pick up and see as something for her and her family.
Well, if you're curious about this game, we played it live, as he said last week, so you can go see that. There's also a link in the description of this video where you can go check it out. And look forward to seeing what's this and what comes next. And other games like Raccoon Tycoon they're coming out now. You'll be able to buy them very shortly. Highly recommend that game, by the way. And we look forward to it. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Tom. Pleasure to be here.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Tantrum House After Party. I'm Will Meadows.
I'm Intern Dan.
I'm Kevin Delp. Today we're looking at Zombie Dice Horde Edition from Steve Jackson Games. We're going to talk about what we loved, what we hated, who won, and how.
Zombie Dice Horde Edition is a push-your-luck dice game with a zombie theme from Steve Jackson Games. So what did we like?
I liked a lot of different things. I liked especially the chunky bust dice. It's got a couple of really cool faces on it, and it just kind of reminded me of categories from back in the day or something. Like the big. It's the same more thing. Games need chunky, big, fat dice for no reason.
Okay. I really like the different faces on the dice. The fact that you have different colors that have different difficulty levels, so you know that you're not always just 1 to 6. You have a different range. So if you pull a bunch of red dice, you're probably hosed.
You could be sadder.
You never know.
I like the bag, the score pad. I think the production value is pretty good, even though it's a lighter type game.
It's very simple.
And it's easy to track, and and there's lots of different variants in the Horde Edition. We played the school bus variant. I think it might make it a little quicker of a game, because there's one face that has 3 brains on it.
Right.
If you get that,
jumps you up real quick. Yep. Yeah,
unless you get 4 shotguns.
Filler action. Who won the game?
I won!
How?
I think I just rolled well.
Yeah, luck. It was
no, I know how I won. I told Dan to keep rolling.
That is true.
There is some of that social, you should keep going, push your luck. The push your luck part is what kind of determines whether or not you're going to rock it.
Yeah. The game has a base game. This is the Horde Edition, so the different variants. There's like a video game variant. I think there's like a action movie variant. So
lots of different cool stuff. Yeah, if it sounds like something you enjoy, check it out. If you want to watch our playthrough, look that up on our channel. And as always, thank you guys for subscribing. We'll catch you guys next time.
Just gonna go life in the coral reef. And you're supposed to find the animal on the card. And good day.
First person to touch both objects on the game board wins a marine animal.
Look for the animals on these pieces. And on these cards.
First 1 to 5 wins.
You win a little animal.
What's your favorite animal you won?
The stingray. Gaming with the people. And I'm Lloyd. Subscribe and hit the button below.
Welcome to The Pitch.
Hey Oka, come take a look at this new Kickstarter.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is Cora, and we're here today to talk to you about games for young children. And today we're going to be talking about this game. Noisy game. What is it, Cora?
I can't say it.
Villa Palati. Villa Palati is a dexterity game where the players are trying to build a tall tower made out of pillars and platforms. On your turn, you roll a dice to see what colour supporting pillar you're going to be moving. You then carefully take the pillar out from under the platform and put it on top of the structure. If you think that none of the pillars of that colour can be moved without the whole thing falling over, then you have the option to add another platform to the structure, which should then theoretically mean you have now more supporting pillars to choose from. The loser of the game is the person who ends up knocking the whole thing over. And it's usually me.
You lose! You lose! You lose!
So Cora, what do you think about Villa Palati?
Well, I kind of like it because sometimes you get forced to lose.
You do. Well, sometimes you've got no choice other than try and put something impossible on the top, don't they?
Yeah, you're forced to lose.
It's a very tense game, actually. Towards the end, your hand's shaking, isn't it? And you're trying to...
and I'm like, oh no, I can't put it on. And then I put it on and Dad loses.
Well, you made some very dodgy engineering decisions in that game. This is a great game. This has been in my collection since I started gaming, to be honest. It's one of the first ones I ever bought. I played this with your sister when she was your age.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did she like board games then?
She likes board games then. She doesn't like board games now. So...
That's why she doesn't do the videos.
That's why she doesn't do the videos. So, we give Villa Palati 2 holding up floors thumbs up.
Hey everybody! It's Week in Review. This is where we go and we take a look at all the reviews we did over the past week and tell you what we think of... Oh, why am I doing Week in Review? Hang on. And that's it for another Board Game Breakfast. I will see you live later today. We'll be talking Q&A there. All kinds of stuff going up this week. Yay! I'm excited. Lots of games to talk about. And our Christmas lists, keep an eye on those. And don't forget our contest that we mentioned at the beginning of the video. If you missed it, go back and check it out. Alrighty, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. This has been Board Game Breakfast, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.